Today we're going to talk about the top 5 tips for wood burning. And welcome back to Burnt by Holly's How To Tuesdays. Today we're going to talk about the 5 top tips that I use for wood burning. Now, these are personally my favorites. However, I've tried to pick the top 5 that make the most sense for people starting out and for the most experienced, the ones that you seem to be able to get the most out of so that you can spend the least amount possible to get yourself going. Today, we're going to start with our skew. Now, the skew is the most popular and most widely used tip found amongst most burning systems, whether it's an element system or a hot wire system. It really makes no difference. Each system has a skew. The skew is characterized by its tip, its heel, and its angled edge, but what sets it apart from any other tip is the flat top. This tip is primarily used for doing feathered work and fine detailed stroke work. Whether you get a razor tip or a coal wood, you will find that the skew usually has a pretty sharp edge. The trouble with the sharp edge tends to be that you cannot easily make circles unless it has an angle. So because you can purchase skews in a shading tip, you can still use the flat side of the tip in order to get different effects. Number 2, we are going to be talking about the coarse detail tip. Now, the coarse detailed tip is basically raw wire. You can use it as a writing tip, or you can use it for making stamps, pointillism, or any other type of artwork that would require a little bit more of a thicker line. You cannot get a perfect straight edge with it because it is a rounded wire. Now, like most tips, you can lay it on its side, or you can also point it at its tip. Some of them have a heel and some of them don't. Dependent on which ones you're using, you can use it for small shading practices and also for a variety of techniques. Our next tip is the round tip. Now, the round tip is usually used on concave or uneven surfaces. The round tip is known for and is most popular for its shading. Now, when you take a round tip and you apply an angle to it, as mentioned earlier, this provides the most ideal shading tip possible. And that is because the tip itself cannot get caught in any grooves. Again, it's as if you are laying it on the wood and rubbing the wood as opposed to cutting into it. And when you are applying the burner in such a way, you will get a nice even shade. You can also use it as a stamping tool and create some pretty cool grooves and some neat little imprints. And some people can get really, really creative with the way that they apply their burners and create some pretty unique pieces of art. Next, we're going to talk about my number 1. And my number 1 tip or nib used primarily in most of my burnings is the spear tip. Reason being, it's the all-in-one package. I am a big fan of being able to use one tip for all of my artwork, and I have found that a rounded tipped spear is my best friend. So when you get a rounded tip spear with a flat edge that's bent, you can use it for sharp lines, pointillism. You can use it for writing, you can use it for shading. And so this is why it's my number 1 choice for tips. And the ball stylus. Now, the ball stylus is obviously probably one of the top chosen tips for writing and for pointillism. It is a perfect round ball. It will give you a perfect round imprint every single time you use it, which means that it's consistent. And when in any type of competition or even just doing artwork for your own pleasure, consistency is key to obtaining some of the most phenomenal and most detail-oriented work. So those are your top 5 tips as a review. You've got your skew, your coarse detail, your spear, your round, and your ball stylist. I thank you for coming out today and hanging out with me, and I can't wait to see you next Tuesday for our How To Tuesdays.